Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I would love to welcome you on another session of our seminars, which are going to be, which are in general focused on helping you grow your artistic career. And today we're having a very exciting topic, which is really focused on comparing local markets versus international/global markets and how to approach them in a way that it brings you, of course, benefit, but I mean, mainly in a strategic way, because when you're looking at local markets, it's completely different comparing to the international one. So I would love to as well mention that all these seminars are supported by the Visegrad Fund, and they're offering a lot of options for creatives. So if you're one of the creatives, I would definitely suggest you to check their options and how they can help you build your career. So as I mentioned, we're going to focus on the local versus international markets. And we're going to briefly as well mention how to navigate these local markets and how to explore the new markets and certain strategies which you can use in order to really help you grow. So before you start, you as an artist, we already discussed this topic in the previous sessions of this seminars. However, it's very important to understand your target market and really position yourself and your art or anything you produce, your services efficiently. Because having a proper target group and knowing who you're approaching, who are the people you're trying to attract, that's just causing a lot of issues. So always make sure that you know who is your target group. And not only your target group, but knowing your local market. Because without knowing your local market, you're not able to truly understand the target group. You probably will struggle with selling, and without having certain skills and knowing how to really promote yourself as a creative on a local market, you're not able to go further to a global or international market. So only once you're able to master this local market, you're able to as well approach the international one. So when we're looking at the local versus international markets, there are certain differences. Local markets are usually more personal. They have stronger community ties. They definitely are strongly influenced by different cultural aspects. A lot of these local markets might have as well certain preferences in terms of art. They might have even certain history in terms of art. And usually the buyers are looking at the creatives or in general on art or services from more like individual perspective or small business perspective, not from this corporate perspective. When you compare it with international markets, on international markets, there are usually larger audiences, more diverse preferences. Of course, the pricing is a bit different and usually more competitive. And I would say it was really, really stereotyping, usually much higher. There are certain patterns, universal patterns, themes, trends, hypes, I don't know how you want to call it, but there are certain preferences in terms of that. And sometimes they're as well looking at very niche cultural aspects or historical aspects, which they are preferring. Entering these international markets, it's definitely much more demanding in terms of finances, logistics, administration, legal perspective. So it's completely different. It's much more professional than usually the local ones. if you would need any support in terms of the legal matters, I want to pinpoint that you can always book the consultancy sessions with our partners from GJW who are able to help you out in this way. And I as well want to mention that the local markets, they don't have to be only markets which are, I don't know, let's say country specific, but they can be as well really city specific, sometimes even bigger cities or more culturally I wouldn't say developed, but more culturally impactful cities. They can be as well local markets, so it really depends. And I really would love to mention that in terms of these local markets, even when they are close to each other, there might be a huge difference. One of the great personal experiences I had was, for example, last year when I spent a few weeks in USA, in New Mexico. I spent a few weeks in Albuquerque, and I spent a few weeks in Santa Fe. These cities are maybe 1 hour from each other driving, so not really far. However, Albuquerque was really this underground, dodgy, raw, artistic scene, very much keen into developing new trends, keen into making sure that the art makes impact, while Santa Fe was very much focused on high-end buyers, very pristine galleries, a very specific way of looking at art. And this was just 1 hour difference. And I mean 1 hour driving difference. Okay, so that's how massive difference the local markets can have. And that's why I'm telling you that you really need to understand the local markets before you're doing this. Because if you're an artist who wants to exhibit more in the galleries and you come to Albuquerque, then you might struggle. If you're a street artist who wants to make an impactful art, raw art, working in more developing scene, you come to Santa Fe, then you will not succeed because that's just not market for you. So you really need to understand the impact. Another impact or another great example, and I mean we're specifically focusing on Europe, is for example Germany, Netherlands, France. Countries which are relatively close to each other, especially when you're looking France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, they're even closer, but there is massive difference. So Germany, huge, huge art market, especially Berlin. In general, Germany, buyers are very much open in supporting more edgy artists, more artists who wants to do the statement. They're not afraid to buy art. They're not afraid to purchase art. A really, really great place to be, especially as a young artist who wants to do a bit quirky stuff. When you're looking at Luxembourg, Luxembourg market very small, usually only located in Luxembourg City. A lot of great galleries. Buyers are very interested in investing into art. However, they are definitely preferring certain movements or certain styles. So, for example, abstract, very minimalistic. They definitely only purchase from galleries or art fairs. They expect certain quality. They expect a lot actually by purchasing that art. They are open with new artists, but they really prefer the more rising artists. and especially entering Luxembourg market, very difficult, very difficult. It's really focused only usually on local artists. So massive difference between these two countries. Belgium, I would say pretty open market, a lot of international people, especially in Brussels. People are very interested in buying art. Great place to start. But then you go to Netherlands. I would say in terms of looking at art, you're able to find different different perspectives when you're looking into Amsterdam, The Hague, usually more old school way of looking at art. Rotterdam, definitely edgy, quirky scene for art. As well, very, very interesting upcoming local art market. However, Dutch buyers, as you may know, there's a stereotype saying that they are Dutch, and that's very much truth. In Netherlands, it's very difficult to sell art. It's very challenging to basically get people to even buy it. In these partial ways. I forgot the specific term, but basically you can buy it in installments, right? So even that is becoming difficult. They prefer more rental. It's completely different because those other markets, they prefer purchasing art. The Netherlands, they purchase rental of art. So paying €5 for a painting a month to have it in their home, not owning it, and then being able to exchange it. And then when you go further, let's say to France, you're able to see market, which is very interested in purchasing art, usually more like this old school kind of art. However, only it's very closed market, so majority of France really prefers French artists. Very tough to get, the same as to Luxembourg, the same as to Switzerland. And then you look into UK, London especially, right? That's one of the biggest markets, art markets in the world. There's everything, mix of different stuff, as well, very interesting to be based, but highly, highly competitive. So even when you're looking at the differences within Europe, such as small distances, as I mentioned, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Luxembourg, this square, which is very nearby, but people have completely different mindset. So without you understanding your local market, it's just not possible for you to really develop yourself as an artist. So especially when you're starting, you will be always in a local market. And that's great because that gives you the chance to basically explore and test what works, what doesn't work. And it will be so much easier to approach galleries, to do exhibitions, to find your first buyers, to start building your network. However, what's most important is that you can learn and you can fail, and you can fail, let's say, more easily. You don't have to feel so stressed, so pressed. You can be relatively, you can experiment more with your perceptions of your art or your vision. So that gives you quite significant freedom. We discussed in one of the very first seminars the pricing. Testing your pricing in a local market is so much better than doing it in international market. Because if you are a little bit playing with your prices, you go higher, and then because of some reason you need to lower your prices, it's much more okay to do it in a local market than on the international one. And you will just always start with the local one. It's great to participate in local events. It's very important to join the local communities because that's where your art career starts. That's where you start building your artistic CV. That's where you're gonna develop your techniques. And I'm very sure that you will be able to find really great people as well in your communities. You can always start promoting your art by collaborating with local businesses. My personal experience is that people feel a bit hesitant these days to come to art galleries. And that's one of the reasons why many galleries stop working. That's one of the reasons as well why a lot of art galleries are mainly selling in art fairs. The cost of having art gallery these days is very, very high, and the sales are never stable in art industry. That's something what you have to as well realize as an artist. It's gonna be volatile. It's just gonna fluctuate, and it will even fluctuate based on the month of the year. So I want you to know that the more ways you find to bring your art closer to your potential clients, the better for you. So don't focus only on art galleries. It's great to find some more calmer, I wouldn't say prominent, I wouldn't say high-end, but I mean finding a cafe or a hotel or some public space which fits your art. So I mean, if you're a person who is really trying to more like be this kind of gallery way of artist, or you're trying to do minimalistic art, then you want to adjust, the space towards that. If you're a person who is really looking more into like street art or pop art, that's completely different audience, that's completely different space you need to showcase what you're doing. So make sure that when you collaborate with local businesses, that you do it in a strategic way, that you don't just take the first thing which comes your way, but that it fits really your vision. Sometimes it's really great to even leverage the local topics, because in certain cases, that can give you, that can really help you as an artist to create this kind of connection, and especially emotional connection with the audience, with the local audience. However, I would say that this can give you as well a really great advantage. I would say advantage, or just make you stand out in international art market, because these days we see that when you're working, or like when you're really trying to depict more local topics slash embracing local cultures, that it's gaining a lot of attention. And I have to say that especially in markets, or like in continents like North America or Australia, especially in these places, we see very, very strong interest for native communities, and not only the local indigenous communities, but I mean as well towards other native communities around the world. So if you are even part of some minority, or your culture is part of certain native culture of certain region, that can have a huge impact on your art, and a very, very positive art. We saw in recent, I think it was 2 years ago, on Biennale in Venice, there was a whole gypsy, not pavilion, but there was like a whole gypsy exhibition in a pretty big building, and there were Romanian gypsies, but for example, this exhibition got a lot of attention. So really, if you're part of minorities or certain ethnicity or native culture, I would definitely suggest you to even play around with this topic, because this can be amazing for you to really stand out. as an artist. And there are as well a lot of art fairs, there are as well a lot of grants and programs which are supporting this kind of artists and that can help you scale your career even further. And of course, we mentioned that building networks, it's always important. Having your network, trying to really build your network is number one thing, because without you knowing people and people knowing you, it's not gonna go very far. When we're looking at the international markets, you always have to understand the cultural differences and the preferences in art. That's something what, for example, I discussed uh, comparing Netherlands, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany. There are so many examples like this all over the world. So that's why it's important to really know and to really know where you want to go and to be strategic about it. Really, different art preferences all over the world. Make sure that when you go somewhere that you're looking at the right place. The same, a bit more challenging in terms of shipment, customs, legal requirements. I highly suggest you to just double check everything, triple check everything, because you never know. But in general, logistics is just going to be a bit more demanding. That's something whether you like it or not. There are a lot of different ways how you can work around it, right? You can get a lot of things without or you can ship a lot of your art without being framed. You can sometimes even ship on the canvas. Photographers can roll their photos and send it in different tubes. Just make sure that your art is protected, because the logistic companies really don't care even if you write fragile. That's just reality check. And when you're starting in these international markets, one of the best ways is to really start with certain galleries, to have some collaboration with international galleries and then entering that market, because getting advice from a professional who is on this market for many years, seen different trends, gives you definitely different perspective. It's very important to study the market, to study the trends, to understand the behavior of people on this market. If you're targeting specific group within that market, to really understand it. Maybe some people will be even willing to talk to you about the specific market, but it's just important to a little bit adapt how you're doing things when you compare it to the local market. It's just going to be like that. When you're starting going international, it's a great way how to start or how to kick off your international career by using different websites, like for example Victoria Art, Artsy, Saatchi, Rise Art, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, just trying to promote yourself. However, you need to really understand that there are a lot of artists these days, and you really need to make sure that you stand out in order to be visible on such kind of platforms. On social media, of course, there's new content every single day, millions of new posts. However, on the art platforms, there's as well a lot of new art. Maybe not every day, few times a week, few times a month, but it is what it is. And buyers these days really struggle to make the right decisions. And if they have a lot of options, there's high chance that they will not do a decision. So really try to think as well in a way that how you can make it easier for your buyers to specifically choose you. One of the ways is that your digital portfolio is going to have high quality images, great description. You will have the descriptions in multiple languages. That might be option if the website is not in multiple languages. That your profile is going to be really strong. That you will provide a good description, not only about the artwork, but as well your process, and maybe the shipment and all these kind of details, which is going to make the buyer more safe or more keen to purchase specifically for you or from you. In general, a really great way is to slowly start participating in international events. Can be art fairs, where you usually have to join certain gallery and it takes a little bit more time. But maybe residencies, international exhibitions. If you're not able to participate, to go there physically, you can always send your art. This is like a standard way how people are doing it in the art industry. And you can always network with international artists and curators online. And sometimes there are definitely different calls for opportunities, calls for proposals. Just try to join these communities and see what can work for you. There are a lot of them. And I understand that you will probably hear a lot of no's in the beginning, but it's okay. You need to start somewhere. So just make sure that you start. And when you're collaborating with foreign galleries, it's great that you already come from a place to having certain experience with galleries and collaboration with galleries in a local market. And then when you polish your professional experience in a local art market, you're able to better communicate in an international market, because these kind of galleries are definitely more competitive. This kind of international galleries or galleries which are just on international market, uh, they definitely require a bit more professional approach, because otherwise they will not deal with you. So make sure that you are able to really polish this artpreneur skills or artpreneurial skills. We already discussed these kind of things before during marketing and branding topics, but having the really consistent communication, consistent, cohesive visual and copywriting communication online on social media, very important at the same time. Just make sure that you make other people updated about what you're doing, and that goes very long way. In terms of other few things you need to be concerned about, definitely make sure that you check the pricing on the international markets, you check the currency, you check as well the exchange rate, you check the taxes, which are connected either with shipments or with purchasing the art, because even within Europe, I think that in Central Europe you have like 20% tax on art. I believe that in Switzerland it's like 8%. I don't want to lie, I think that in Luxembourg even less, like 2%. I'm not 100% sure about this, but there are huge differences as well in tax systems. So definitely make sure that you're aware of this, because that can sometimes surprise the artist, and of course negatively surprise the artist, but just really double check it in advance, plan it in advance. Sometimes you just need to adjust your pricing strategy based on the market, and the same goes as well for having the contracts. So in different markets there are of course different regulations, but and I understand that you as an artist, you're not able to cover everything, but if you have time to do at least a short research, that always goes a long way in order to make sure that you're safe. So there is going to be very amazing exercise this week, which we're going to share with you tomorrow. We're going to share with you as well different resources. So I'm not gonna dive into that. But if you want to really go globally, just make sure that you have a professional website with international appeal, especially in terms of the descriptions and the copywriting. Because if someone comes to your website and they see a lot of typos, that does not give very good impression. The same having professional, sometimes even multilingual promotional materials goes a long way. Mentioning as well the partners, the previous partners or the current partners you're working with, shows your credibility, and of course promoting everything through social media. That's always beneficial these days. There will be as well some resources which we are going to share with you. We're going to share with you as well market analysis template, which I definitely suggest strongly that you will have a look at, and that you can basically think about until next week, really thinking about what market is the right market for you, because that can make a huge impact. We will share all the resources with you tomorrow. You have a week to work on it. Yeah, so I hope that you will use this week very well. And now there's the time for the questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to, of course, raise the hand or unmute your microphone. However, I would love to mention as well two things. The consultancy sessions, we still have some dates available, and at the same time, I know that not all of you signed up already. So if you're struggling with something, if you feel that there might be language barrier, you can specifically choose a mentor who is speaking as well the language you prefer. So for example, for me, it's if you're Czech speaking or Slovak speaking, that's absolutely not a problem with me. GJW, those guys, they're speaking Polish. Ari Kupstus, he's as well speaking Hungarian. So just make sure that if you feel that there is this concern regarding the language barrier, that you just choose the mentor who's able to speak your local language. And very, very important thing, next week on Wednesday, we're going to have the double seminar. So we're going to discuss two topics: diversifying income streams as an artist and selling your art online. So we will specifically focus on e-commerce platforms and strategies, something what we dived into a little bit before, but next week it's going to be much more into depth. Then we're going to have 2 weeks break. So on the 7th and 14th, there will not be any seminar. And then on the 21st, we're going to have again the double seminar regarding transitioning from emerging to established artists and collaborating with art institutions and museums. Of course, we're going to notify you about this through our email notifications and basically the email updates we're sending you. But I just would love to. I always like to actually mention that during the seminar, so you don't forget. And if you don't have any questions, or I think that there are no questions right now, I would love to say thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much for joining this seminar. I hope that it brought you value. If you have any questions, feel free to always reach out to our team at victory@victoryart.eu. Someone from our team definitely responds to all of your emails, and I'm looking forward to see you next week. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Have a great evening.